Well, friends, can I thank you for your warm welcome. This is my first address to ALDE, and I just want to start off by reconfirming the absolute commitment of the Liberal Democrats in Britain to the European project, the European Union, and to the ALDE family. And I just want to thank the previous leaders who I've heard who have reminded me of the values that we have in common. And I just wanted to single out, if I might, Michael Martin from our Irish sister party, whose comments on Brexit and the damage it will cause, I echo absolutely. And we're working very closely with them. Now, I think for many of you, I suspect you're heartily sick of this whole Brexit business, probably not understanding the bizarre way in which Britain has behaved over the last few years. But the point I want to stress is that this is not a done deal. It's not finished. It's not inevitable. The position at the moment is that the Prime Minister is likely to bring a deal to the country in the next few days, probably as early as Monday, if she can get agreement from the British Cabinet, which is very divided on this subject, and will then put it before Parliament. At the moment, there is no clear majority in the British Parliament for any Brexit arrangement. It's a very divided and unsatisfactory situation. There is certainly no majority for a disruptive, hard Brexit, as it's called, a no-deal Brexit, which would cause immense damage not just in Britain, but in the rest of Europe. Nor, I think, is there a majority support for what the Prime Minister will call a soft Brexit, because it's pointless. Why would we have a situation in which Britain is following all the rules of the European Union but has no say in it? It's not a stable or satisfactory outcome. So we may get to a position very shortly where there is complete deadlock in the British Parliament. Now, at that point, the Liberal Democrat proposal and our allies comes into play, which is that we are pressing for a people's vote, as we call it, which is a confirmatory referendum on the deal, with the option to remain within the European Union. And this approach is getting growing support throughout different parties and in the country as a whole. Now, you may not be aware of the shift that is taking place in British public opinion. It's happening on quite a big scale and quite rapidly. A large body of opinion, approximately 80% in a recent survey, suggests that the government has handled this whole affair very badly. People are not predominantly blaming the European Union for the mess that we have now got into. I think that's enormously important. Paradoxically, this hasn't aroused an anti-European nationalism. It reflects an internal civil war within the ruling British Conservative Party. Now, there is now a very clear majority in the UK of people who wish to remain in the European Union, and an absolutely overwhelming majority, perhaps 85% amongst young people. And we had a poll commissioned in the last few weeks, a huge sample, several thousand in that sample, who suggested that there is now a roughly 8-point lead for those people who wish to remain, if it were put to a vote. And that's why the campaign for a people's vote is so absolutely important, And you will have seen evidence of this in the mass march which took place. The Liberal Democrats were very prominent in it. 700,000 people took to the streets. And amongst the wider public, 40% actively support the idea of a people's vote, a referendum, and 60% are open to the idea. So the conclusion is that Brexit can be reversed. Now, in our anti-Brexit campaigning, we in the Liberal Democrats have given particular priority to the rights of the 3 million Europeans living in Britain and the 1.5 million Britons living on the continent. Indeed, I met a group from Live in Spain this morning and reminding me of the potential disruption and the current insecurity of this enormous grouping people. Now, even if the withdrawal agreement is settled and provides for something called settled status, the details at the moment are very unclear. The process is unnecessarily complicated, and the rights of these 4.5 million people are being seriously eroded in a variety of ways, not least the fact that they are going to have to pay very large fees simply in order to have their position recognized. So we're going to continue to fight for the rights of all European citizens, and I hope that you will encourage your diaspora who live in the UK to join and work with the Liberal Democrats in that fight. I think one of the many problems which has been exposed by Brexit is that disputes that were either settled or dormant have been reopened. We know about the Irish problem, we've discussed it. I'll just also mention briefly Gibraltar. I'm pleased to say that we have, I think, in the hall, Liberals from Spain and from Gibraltar here as sister parties. And I'm very hopeful that the practical issues around that problem are satisfactorily resolved. But finally, I just want to report back to you that we are in the process of transforming our party into a broader movement for liberal democracy in the United Kingdom. We're trying to build on the model which has been successfully developed in France and by Ciudadanos in Spain and indeed across the Atlantic in Canada. And we are trying to create a structure within which political power is handed to hundreds of thousands of liberal inclined supporters in the country. And by doing this, we hope to build on the momentum in the campaign that we have developed against Brexit, and we are committed to repairing what is in effect a broken democracy in Britain, which led us to this problem. So at this critical point, not just in our history, but in Europe, what I ask you is that you'll keep faith with liberalism in Britain, that you keep faith with the strong forces in the UK which continue to see our future as a European country, and that with us you will stand with the millions of British people who say that democracies can change their minds and that Brexit must be stopped. Thank you.